for the portrait of the graduate. What we're talking about is creative thinking. How do we inspire students to think differently, to understand that they can take a puzzle piece here and a puzzle piece here and put it together in a new way? Think about things upside down and right side up and examine things in a very different way that is creative and inspiring. So we need those kind of spaces that can support that thinking and take away the walls of the classroom and unleash that creative thinker and inspire them to think beyond what creativity has been defined before. Because if we can put new and different things together, the future is bright because we can solve problems in a new way. And that's the kind of space that we want to create to make students excited about learning. So what we're going to do now is break into small groups. I think we're just going to have one group tonight, which is kind of exciting. And we're thinking about beyond the classroom, what types of settings inspire you to think creatively? Joanza?
Yes. Hi. Yes. This purpose of this community discussion is to review the final 3 pillars of a portrait of a graduate: creativity, critical thinking, and technology. In this breakout session, we will be specifically looking at the pillar of creativity. Think about the presentation we have just heard and how we can support this pillar with space in our school facilities. How will these spaces work? What type of spaces would encourage our students to be imaginative and explore original ideas and innovative solutions by transcending traditional thoughts, patterns, and relationships? The specific question that you will be answering is thinking beyond classrooms. What type of settings inspire you to think creatively? With that, our Zoom moderator will organize us into breakout rooms. For more of an immediate conversation, when you receive this Zoom link, you were given a specific breakout room assignment. Please select that room when the option pops up. Each group will have a champion, reporter, and a scribe. After 10 minutes, we will come back together again and report to the group at large. If you are selected as a scribe, please ensure that you fill out the Google form. Please submit your responses to each individual question after every breakout room. You will always go to the same breakout room tonight. With that, you can now go into your breakout rooms.
Thank you, Joanza. Misty is going to be putting us into breakout rooms and looking forward to the conversation. It takes a little while for her to sort us, so just be patient and we'll get started as soon as the sorting has begun.
Thank you. Is everyone back?
Yep, everyone's back.
Okay, everyone's back. Now that everyone's back, we definitely had I think we were starting to get to some different positive viewpoints from our group. We just kind of wanted to have the family ambassador add anything or any interesting thoughts or any ideas off of the Google form that they might want to share at this particular point. Or if anyone from the group has something that they may want to share at this particular point as well, you can insert here as well. So.
Madison, do you want to be our report out since you took the notes?
Yeah, I can report. So first we talked about spaces to get your hands dirty and basically thinking with your hands. So you pick stuff up, helps inspire creative thinking. Bigger rooms with movable walls, hanging up things like projects. Juwan Zamora talked about a project that he had his earlier students do where they hung up people that inspired them. And every day you walked in the classroom, you could see that that's somebody that you can become. And we also talked about windows and being able to look out into nature, which inspires creative thinking too. Yeah, that's all.
Appreciate it. Excellent reporting as usual. With that being said, we'll turn it back over to Colin for the next couple slides.
But before we jump there, I think Dr. Grubbs was in the middle of sharing something about creativity.
He sure was. Yeah, he sure was.
I don't want to miss out on that. So I don't know if you feel comfortable sharing with the whole group, but please do if you do.
Well, absolutely. I just appreciate the authentic feedback. Sometimes when you're in the work and you're touching the work, you have a different perspective. And so hearing the comments about the creativity or the lack of creativity, and hearing that from the actual voices of students, sharing that with their parents was eye-opening. In my mind, when I'm out and about and I'm visiting schools, I'm very appreciative of the design process that teachers go through to put lessons together, and it goes beyond planning sometimes. And so when Mr. Moore, when you were giving some examples about your daughter, I think about the teachers at that school in Region 2, how they go beyond planning the lessons, but it's actually a design process, and they do that with other colleagues. And so, but the feedback is real, and it gives you something to process and think about, and how do we continue to create different experiences that go beyond the classroom, that go beyond the four walls in the schoolhouse, to really engage kids. And so that was what I was going to share and kind of reflect on. So, but thank you for everyone who gave that feedback and shared. So.
Thanks.
So the next pillar we'll be discussing this evening is critical thinking. And that has been defined as our students will analyze and apply evidence-based reasoning to understand big picture challenges and how solutions affect other parts of the system. And what the research says about that is that critical thinking often implies risk-taking in the form of challenging prior learning and tacit assumptions, considering opposing views, and stretching capacities to learning new skills and information. And as such, the physical spaces should provide support and cognitive safety for student and educator risk-taking. Critical thinking can require maximum cognitive effort, and the physical spaces should accommodate varied ways to support student and educator conditions for critical thinking.
Thank you, Colin, for sharing that data. So when we think about a school and critical thinking, often it's in a laboratory where we have small group gathering and we can access that scientific data and challenge each other with, what did you think about this? No, I think it's this. And let's come together and collaborate and find out what the answer is together. So these kind of spaces support critical thinking, but there's another way of thinking about critical in the way that we can intersect different kinds of elements. So what I want to share about critical thinking is that we can look at answering questions with dissimilar things. So often art and math are not taught in the same area. But if we intersect those, it can become architecture and design and something different. So that's the idea of connecting with critical thinking to dissimilar things and coming out with something new and different. How does that happen in the world beyond school? Well, it happens in the office. So finding a space where dissimilar people can come together, a gathering space that's relaxing and comfortable, with comfortable furniture, different ways of sitting, some just singular and studying within the group, but on your own, having conversations with people that you might not normally have a conversation with, and coming together in a consensus in a fun and relaxed environment. So this is where our students are going. So what we want to do is integrate these kind of spaces in the elementary and the middle school and the high school, finding ways to create that spontaneous learning, meet someone new, and challenge each other's viewpoints to create equity and inclusion. And so this is our question for the second breakout. Part of critical thinking is to challenge previous assumptions and connect unlike ideas. What are the characteristics of space needed to support critical thinking? Mr. Moore?
In this breakout session, we will now look at the pillar of critical thinking. Think about the presentation we have just heard and how we can support this pillar with space in our school facilities. How will these spaces work? What types of spaces would encourage our students to analyze and apply evidence-based reasoning to understand big picture challenges and how solutions affect other parts of a system? This specific question that we'll be answering is, what are the big picture spaces needed to support critical thinking? With that, our Zoom moderator will organize us into the same breakout rooms for a more intimate conversation. You will be automatically placed into the same breakout room as before. After 10 minutes, we will come back together again as a large group where we will discuss what we talked about earlier in our groups. The scribe of the same group will remain the same, and the other positions also will remain the same. At this time, we will go into our breakout rooms. Is everyone back on?
I think everybody's here.
Okay. Yes, if you don't mind, everyone is back on. Madison, would you like to give us a report or feedback of what was just discussed in the last meeting?
Sure. So for critical thinking, we discussed how flexible seating, more floor space, technology, whiteboards, and multiple areas for learning and testing, and then flexibility in room uses, places to try things and fail, and then build on whatever worked for you, and also places to build or write out your problems to find a solution by physically seeing it. So yeah.
Does anyone else have anything to add behind Madison? At this time, we will turn it over to Colin for the last pillar.
So our last pillar of the evening, ladies and gentlemen, is technology, which is defined as our students will leverage traditional and emerging technology to consume, create, communicate, and connect while practicing responsible citizenship in an increasingly digital world. And we must also be mindful of the fact that technology is ever evolving. And as such, we need to make sure that our spaces are keeping up with the evolution of technology.
Thank you, Colin. So this is a classroom that could have been 100 years ago. It's got desks lined up in rows. It's got a teacher at the front of the room. And the only difference is there's technology in the room. So there's a front screen where the teaching is happening, and then there's devices in everyone's hands. So we're very blessed that Columbus City Schools is a one-to-one district. So technology is in students' hands, but our classrooms are not designed for it. We've just mounted something on the wall permanently, right, to compensate for putting technology in a classroom. What would it look like if the room was actually designed for the technology? So we know that there are digital natives. Some of our infants are already using a device. So we know that students are familiar with technology, but do they really know its full potential? And so the technology here, we've got a guide showing students how to use technology in the right way, how to use search engines in the right way, and get to the information that they need on their devices. And that is the potential for technology at this age. And then as we move forward, we talk about what's the future. Well, the future is now. This space is Google now. So this is where our students are headed with technology. And we want schools to have the kind of flexibility that if there's a new sort of technology that's developed, the spaces are adaptable to accommodate these new technologies that are 5 years away and are 10 years away and beyond. So we need that kind of flexibility. We need spaces that are stand up, that are interfacing with, and just room to grow and change. So think about how can our schools adapt to technology? And here's the final question for the evening. Given the fast pace of technological change, how can we plan spaces to accommodate this fast-paced change?
In this next breakout session, we will now look at the pillar of technology. Think about the presentation that we just heard and how we can support this pillar with space in our school facilities. How will these spaces work? What types of spaces will encourage our students to leverage traditional and emerging technology to consume, create, communicate, and connect while practicing responsible citizenship in an increasingly digital world? The specific question that you will be answering is, given the fast pace of technology change, how can we plan spaces to accommodate the fast paced change? With that, our Zoom moderator will organize us into the same breakout rooms for a more immediate conversation. Once you will be automatically placed into the breakout room, after 10 minutes, we will come back together and report to the group at large. Please use the same scribe that was selected earlier. If you are the scribe, please ensure you fill out the Google form and submit your responses. With that, you can now go into your breakout rooms. Has everyone returned? Everyone back?
Mhm.
Yes, Madison, do you mind giving us a report off for the group discussion?
So for technology, we talked about how we need technology that helps students interact beyond the classroom and even beyond the school that they're in. We also talked about how we need to evaluate what we need in technology for like a math class or science class. We also want to have more technology programs in schools across the district. And we also talked about how different technology offers different learning experiences, like VR goggles can change how you learn about, I don't know, a history topic or something. So that's all.
I know we had, did anyone else have anything else that they would like to add or input?
Lori Seeger dropped out because of her hotspot. So I know she would want me to add that planning for proper infrastructure to make sure that the technology can remain flexible. So I'm speaking for Lori.
Anyone else have anything else to input? Before we turn it back over to Colin for some last thoughts, this is the final request. If anyone has any last things pertaining to this evening that they would like to input at this time, this would be a great time to do it. If not, Colin, you can take it over.
Thank you. And just a few final thoughts related to tonight's engagement and the overall interest in making sure the facilities align with the portrait vision. Creating innovative learning spaces is important, but providing support to teachers for how to maximize that space is equally important. There's research out of Australia that talks about the concept of learning spaces and the impact that that has on student achievement. And so the link is down at the bottom of the slide. But the research has found that the impact of facility design on student learning is heavily influenced by the skill of the teachers to use the space. So it is great that we are considering the spaces in which the learning occurs, but we must also consider how are we going to support teachers in maximizing the utilization of said spaces. And there's other research out there about smaller class size initiatives and student outcomes. And so there is a research base that you all can tap into as you consider this work. And thank you for the opportunity to share.
Thank you, everyone, for presenting your thoughts and ideas. All this information will be incorporated into a report of how this master plan will come together. The comments from tonight, along with the comments from the community discussions from the other 5 planning regions, will be reviewed at a facility planning committee meeting. The review process will lead to the question in upcoming surveys. Please join us on Wednesday, June 30th at 6 p.m. by tuning in virtually, as this meeting will be live streamed on the district Facebook and YouTube page. Just a reminder, if you would like to catch up on any of the previous phases or the upcoming phase meetings, please visit our FMP website at ccsoh.us/FMP. That's ccsoh.us/FMP. Thank you for everyone who took time out tonight to share your thoughts, opinions, and ideas. We look forward to a new survey for the defined phase that will be coming in the next few weeks. Again, when we have our next meeting, try to bring out some other people so that we can add more insight to our discussion. We feel it is necessary to keep you as informed as possible before we start to create concepts of the master plan later in the fall of 2022. Your input is greatly appreciated. Enjoy your summer, and we'll see you in September. Have a good evening.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for being here.
Nice job, Madison.